In this video, I am reviewing the Ninja Speedi Rapid Cooker and Air Fryer, so let's get started. The Ninja Speedi Rapid Cooker comes with a crisper tray and a 6/4 non-stick cooking pot. There is a heating element on the base of the unit that will act like the burner, so I'm guessing this only works when the unit is in rapid cook mode, so it will bring the liquids to boil. On the lid is the heating element coil and a fan, which will work when the switch is in air fry mode. And you always want to keep the cooking pot in the unit before you start any cooking. Under the corners of the tray are these rings that you'll need to rotate outwards when using it in the elevated position, and rotate them inwards when the tray will be used for the lower position. You'll mostly use the bottom position for like air frying mode or steaming, because you don't want the food to be too close to the heating element. And then the elevated position or the higher position will be used when you want to crisp your food, or if you want to broil your food, because you want to keep it a little higher and closer towards the heating element. And to remove the crisper tray when it's hot, it's a good idea to use silicone tongs by grabbing it from the center handle here, like so. Pretty easy to do. The crisper tray has these removable silicone tabs on the side which will trap a lot of grease, so you want to make sure to remove these and clean the edges of the crisper tray before putting these back on. It's pretty easy to do. And along with the vents on the top and the steam vent, you'll see vents at the back of the unit. Before using the unit, it's a good idea to give it a good wipe down, especially the heating element here. I'll just show you how much residue is going to come off. Powered on the control panel, and the display is user friendly with push buttons to select the cooking function. This means you do need to press a few times to get to your choice of cooking mode. It has up and down arrows to increase or decrease the temperature, and the same for time. Once you've set your program, press the start and stop button. I've washed out my cooking pot and crisper tray, and I've wiped the inside of the unit. Before I start using it, I'm also going to run it on air fry mode for at least 20 minutes just to get rid of the smell. I'm going to start with the steam function first. To do that, you need to remove the crisper tray since you don't really need that. And I'm going to put some garlic and herb pasta in and add 2 cups of water to this. You want to have enough water in there to cover the whole pasta. And then I'm going to flip the switch to the rapid cooker setting, and you'll see that the rapid cooker is now highlighted. Select the steam function. The default time is 10 minutes and I'll keep that. So press the start button. There's no temperature to select for steam mode, and you will see progress bars first, which will take about 8 minutes for it to bring the water to boil. The more water you add to the pot, the longer it will take to build up the steam. I've added 2 cups, so it took around 8 minutes or so to build up the steam before it began the cooking process. And when the unit is running, you can open the lid to check on it. Just be careful with the amount of steam that will come out. So after 10 minutes, I can see my pasta is all done. My liquid has all dried up. I'm going to give it a good stir, and you can see that it's cooked really well. And the best thing about this is I didn't have to continuously stir it like I would on the stove to prevent it from sticking to the pot. I always have to stand and stir it every other minute, but just doing it in this, I popped it all in and I just left it to cook. It's a good idea to stir it maybe once in between, but I didn't even do that. I like to make these frozen battered fish fillets that you can find in Costco, adding half a cup of water to the pot, and with the tray in the elevated position, I can fit 5 of these fillets on top. Rotate the switch to rapid cooker, select the steam and crisp function, and I cook them at 450 degrees, setting the time to 12 minutes first. Half a cup of water took about 3 to 4 minutes to come to steam. Flip them halfway so that the underside can get crispy. And of course, always check on your food in the last 1 to 2 minutes. So after 11 minutes, just take a look at the golden crispy coating on these fish fillets. They came out so good, and the fish inside was tender and so flaky and juicy, and it wasn't dry at all. And the steam definitely helps it keep some of that moisture in. And I used absolutely no oil at all, but these were so good. Even though the display doesn't have a preheat button, you can still preheat the unit by adding 5 to 6 minutes to the cook time. I placed the tray in the lowest position with the switch in air fry mode, selected the air fry function, setting it at 390 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. And I cooked some chicken drumsticks, which I marinated and kept in the fridge overnight, but they were at room temperature before I began cooking them. I'll leave links in the description box. I usually post the recipes on my Facebook and Instagram pages, so feel free to follow me there for more recipes. I like to preheat when I'm cooking chicken and meats because I find it helps create a beautiful sear. After 5 minutes of preheating, place the drumsticks onto the tray, and I could fit about 10 drumsticks in here. They will shrink slightly as well, so that leaves enough room for air circulation. And I also flip them so that they get a nice brown sear all over. And after 15 minutes, just take a look at how beautiful these drumsticks turned out. They were so juicy. Just take a look at the color. I made a batch of these because I was going to give some to a family friend, and they were amazing. So juicy inside and so flavorful, and the outside had a beautiful nice sear on it. Delicious. When cooking my whole chicken, I decided not to preheat the unit. Using the steam and crisp function, I added 1 cup of water to the unit and placed the marinated chicken onto the tray, which is in the lowest position. I set the temperature to 390 degrees Fahrenheit with the timer set to 50 minutes. Since I wasn't going to be preheating the unit, I figured I would need extra time. It took about 6 to 7 minutes for 1 cup of water to build steam. I checked on it after 35 minutes, and I was lucky because the top was really starting to brown, and to be honest, the whole chicken was done. But when I flipped it over, it was a little too soft and I wanted it crispy, so I put it back in for 5 more minutes. And I could already tell that the chicken had dried out, and obviously I underestimated the heat power of the Ninja Speedi. I didn't think a whole chicken could be cooked in less than 40 minutes, but it seems 30 to 35 minutes would have been ideal, even at a temperature of 390 degrees Fahrenheit. The skin on one side was a little too crisp, but thankfully the chicken was still edible, which is why it's always a good idea to check on your food regularly. But next time I would opt to use the roast function to cook a whole chicken. And this is also why I prefer to preheat the unit. I find it would have locked in a little bit more of that moisture and it wouldn't have dried out the chicken so much. That's just my thinking. I don't know, a lot of people don't like to preheat. They think it's a waste of time, but this is why I always prefer to preheat. So lesson learnt. And I think for 50 minutes, I think 2 cups of water would be better than 1 cup, because I think a lot of the steam also finished, which is why the chicken dried out a little bit too much. For my speedy meal function, I added 1 cup of rice to the cooking pot together with 2 cups of water. You can also use any stock for flavor, or I'm just going to add some salt. Place the tray in the elevated position, and I added my marinated chicken, which was at room temperature. I have a breast piece, and I can also fit in 6 bone-in thigh pieces. The breast piece is quite big, so it will take the same amount of time to cook as the bone-in thighs. Cooking everything at 390 degrees Fahrenheit, and 15 minutes, the chicken looked amazing. Although the underside didn't crisp because of the steam underneath it, but if you do want them crispy all over, it's a good idea to flip them part way, but I let this one go for now. So carefully lifting out the tray with my tongs, and I can see that the rice had a little bit of water remaining in it. So I used the saute function for a couple of minutes on high to dry out the water. You can leave the lid open when you're using the saute and sear function, making sure that the rice doesn't stick to the pot. So if I cut into the chicken here, the breast piece is so tender, and just look at the juices in that. And also the thigh piece came out really good. I absolutely loved how the chicken turns out on the steam and crisp function. It really does keep everything juicy inside and doesn't dry it out at all. So 15 minutes cook time with an extra 4 to 5 minutes for the steam build up, and this is a complete meal ready. I love it. I have used the steam and bake function. I mostly like using it for baking potatoes. They turn out so good because the steam helps create and retain that moisture and smooth texture in the center, but it also gives it a crispy skin from the bake. However, the day I decided to record the full process of steaming my sweet potatoes, the steam and bake function wouldn't work properly. I added 1.5 cups of water to the cooking pot, rotate the switch to rapid cooker, select the steam and bake function, setting the timer for 30 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. But for some reason the progress bars were continuously showing on the display. The unit was just building up steam for the longest time and it wouldn't switch into the cooking mode. So when I checked on it after 20 minutes, I could see that the unit was still steaming, but it wasn't baking the potatoes. However, all the other cooking functions were still working fine. So it seemed like the steam and bake function just malfunctioned and it just wouldn't work. Thankfully, it was still under warranty, and now I'm just waiting for my replacement unit to arrive. Anyway, I ended up steaming the potatoes for the rest of the cook time, and I ended up with like a mashed potato texture. So it's definitely worth checking all of the cooking functions to make sure that they don't stop working, even if you don't use them very often, because it's possible that one of them may just stop working all of a sudden. The Ninja Speedi Rapid Cooker has got to be my favorite so far out of all of the Ninja appliances when it comes to cleaning. If there's any grease on the lid after using one of the non-steam functions like air fry or roast, I just run the steam program for 5 to 10 minutes and then wipe everything away with a cloth. I will do another video on deep cleaning and the cleaning tools that I like to use, so watch out for that. But for now, just to show you how easy it is to wash the non-stick pot and tray, just using hot water and Dawn dish soap and a non-abrasive sponge. You can also put them in the dishwasher. They are dishwasher safe, but I always prefer to wash them by hand. They're so quick and easy to clean. And sometimes I've even left them for the day because I just haven't had time that evening to wash it, and it still washes very easy. For the tray, just remember to get under the silicone tabs and the tray legs because that's where the grease likes to hide. I use a cloth to wipe down the lid, and don't forget that there is a condensation collector at the back of the unit that needs to be emptied, especially after using any of the steam functions. So overall, the Ninja Speedi Rapid Cooker is definitely one of my favorites, alongside with the Ninja 5-in-1 grill, which I also reviewed a couple of years ago. I still have that and I still use it. I absolutely love that one as well. But this one is kind of taking over from there. I keep alternating between both of them. But I do love this. I love the feature of the steam. It definitely helps keep some of that moisture in the food and prevents the food from drying out, and also gives that crispness. There are, however, a couple of things that you should bear in mind with this. It all comes down to the counter space because it is a little bulky in terms of width and depth, but the biggest thing is the height of it, that you do have enough space between your cabinets and your counter to open the lid fully. Secondly is, if you do need to bring it forward to open the lid, the length of the cord is a little shorter than what I've seen on others. So it's only 36 inches. So if you do need to bring it forward, there's a possibility that the length of the cord may not stretch as far enough. Obviously, when you're using any of the steam functions, it will let out a lot of steam from the vent here. So you'll want to keep it away from your cabinets. Hopefully it's not too tall and it won't ruin your cabinets. On my heating element, for some reason in the corner just here, it's starting to discolor a little. When I called about the issue with my steam and bake, I actually mentioned it to the customer service if that was normal, and she said it was fine as long as it's not affecting the cooking process, or if the heating element is not working, if this area is not heating up. But I haven't experienced anything with the heating element not working just yet. So anyway, I am getting a replacement unit, so I'm going to see if the same thing happens on that one. I will give you guys an update if you guys want to leave any comments down below. If it's happening with anybody else, I don't know, hopefully it's just happening with mine. Do let me know if it does happen on anybody else's. It would be good to see if it's just mine or if this is a normal thing that's happening. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I do hope you found it useful. Any questions, comments, please leave them below. Don't forget to give this video a like, and I hope to catch you in my next video.